Hello, my name is Polli. I'm head of the family team at Pinney Talfourd Solicitors and a partner. I'm joined today by one of my partners, Louise Eady, who's based at our Brentwood office. Louise, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do within the family team, please?
I deal with all aspects of family law, from divorce finances, children, cohabitation disputes, prenuptial agreements, declarations of trusts for cohabitants who are purchasing a property, anything relating to family law.
Thank you. It was your suggestion that we branched out into this area. Why?
It was my suggestion. I wanted our family department to be able to offer clients a full range of services and to reflect the way that people live their lives and make their families these days, and so I felt that it was important that we offered that service in addition to our other services. I
think that's really important. I know when clients come to see you, one of their major concerns is that once the baby is born, that the surrogate can keep the baby. Is that true?
It is true. It doesn't happen very often. What happens is when the baby is born, the surrogate is registered as the legal parent, and if she has a husband, then he is also registered as the legal parent to that child, even though he will not have a biological connection to it. What then happens is the intended parents will apply for what's called a parental order, and once that parental order has been granted, the birth certificate is reissued with the names of the intended parents on it, which then reflects the parentage of the child.
I assume therefore it's very important that the clients take advice long before the birth of this child.
Very much so. It's important to actually seek advice at the very beginning of the surrogacy journey to make sure that you're aware of all the restrictions and legalities, possible pitfalls and so on, so that you go into the process knowing all of that and prepared and being able to deal with it in a sensible way.
What if the surrogate does change their mind? It might not happen very often, but there is that risk. What can we do?
There's always a risk. The more open that everybody is throughout the process, and the more everybody has discussed things, perhaps even written things down, the less likelihood there is of that happening. It's very, very rare. If it does happen on a very rare occasion, then it's open to any of the parties to make an application to the court for various sorts of orders, and a judge will then make a decision based on what is best for that particular child. But what has normally happened by that point is that the baby has been handed over to the intended parents at birth, so the baby then has a relationship with that set of parents.
One of the other frequently asked questions by clients is, can you pay a surrogate? I know the rules differ widely in different jurisdictions. What is the answer?
The answer under English law is that you can pay a surrogate, but you can only pay her what are called reasonable expenses. So that would be costs relating to medical care, pregnancy, clothing, all of those kind of things. The courts have to approve those expenses before the parental order will be made, but generally they've adopted a very generous approach in approving those expenses. But it's important that everybody keeps a record of what payments have been made and what for, because that would have to be produced to the court when you apply for the parental order.
How do people find a surrogate? I think there are surrogacy agencies. Is that the normal route, if there is such a thing as a normal route?
There are surrogacy agencies. There are a few, they're all non-for-profit organisations, and their job is to match intended parents to surrogates. So if you don't have a friend or a family member or somebody that you already know who's going to act as your surrogate, then you would use a surrogacy agency to find somebody for you. It can take quite a long time. It's quite a long process. There are a shortage of surrogates in the UK at the moment, but that's the best way forward. And generally speaking, surrogacy arrangements through agencies are less likely to fail because it's on a slightly more formal footing.
Parental orders then, how long does it take to get one put in place? How long does that procedure within the court
take? It takes a while. There's a certain procedure that has to be gone through. Ideally, the application should be made as soon after the child's birth as possible. There's a standard form to fill in. The surrogate has to fill in a form confirming her consent, and her husband if she has one too. The judge will then appoint a reporter who will speak to everybody concerned, go through a very thorough process of assessment, and then make recommendations. So generally speaking, the process takes about 6 months.
And I assume in the meantime then that the child is with the intended parents?
Yes, generally speaking it is, and at the first hearing, when the timetable is set for the process of the parental order, the intended parents will be granted legal rights. It's called parental responsibility. So they can, even though they're not registered on the child's birth certificate at that point, they do have the rights to make decisions on behalf of that child and for that child.
And that's quite important.
It's very important.
You mentioned when we were talking that there's a shortage in the UK, and I think people are aware of that. Can you use a surrogate from overseas? Is the procedure different?
There are differences in the procedure in that you're involved in another legal jurisdiction. There are some countries where surrogacy is legal, some where it's illegal. There are different rules for each different country, so there's much more complexity involved in using a surrogate from abroad. You also have additional immigration issues, because if the baby is born in the surrogate's country, then the baby will need a passport in order to be able to come home with the intended parents. So there's an added layer of complexity, which will mean that an additional layer of advice is needed from a lawyer in the country where the surrogate lives, and also from an immigration lawyer here in the UK.
And we as a team at Pinney Talfourd, can we put clients in touch with those other lawyers to try and link those services up?
Yes, we can. We have contacts that enable us to do that, yes.
I know this area of work fascinates you, and you're very passionate about it, and that comes across, I think, to the team as a whole. Why?
I think it's a very different experience from a lawyer's point of view. Most of the people I deal with are at the end of a relationship or a marriage, and they're going through a very tough time. The people that I work with who are going through their surrogacy journey, although they have also been through a tough time, normally because of infertility, they're very excited and happy to be embarking on that journey, and it's really a very positive experience to be a part of that for them and to help guide them through that journey.
Louise, thank you.
You're welcome.